So now that we have our agent.ts file, let's make use of this in our app component. And what we want to do, instead of this request to use Axios, what we'll do is we'll bring in our agent file and we'll use the auto import from API agent. And then we want to access the activities objects, and then we've got access to our list. And then the rest of this pretty much stays the same. However, our response from our list, what we get back is a promise of type any. It's not quite what we're looking for at the moment, but we know that what we did in our agent.ts file, our response that we're returning from this is going to be the response.data. So this is just going to give us our activities back from this request. So we don't need the data object inside here, but this still doesn't resolve our problem because our activity implicitly has an any type. Now, of course, we could get around this by explicitly saying activity and any inside here, and this should actually resolve the problem, and we should be able to see our activities being displayed on our page. However, I'm seeing nothing, so I'm presuming I've got a problem here. And if I take a look at the console, I can see that the server's responded with a status of 404 not found. And if I look at the URL that it's trying to access, it looks like I've made a bit of a typo in the activities here. So let's go and take a look at the agent.ts file, and what I'll find is that I spelled activities incredibly badly, and activities should be spelt like this. And if I go and take a look, then sure enough I do find the activities are now back. But because we're using TypeScript, and it feels wrong to use the any as a type, because then we're not using any of the benefits of TypeScript. What we want to return from our responses for this particular list is to return a promise of activities or an activity array instead of a promise of any. So we need to go back to our agent.ts file, and what we need to do is give our list a return type so that it's returning a promise of an activities array. So what we can do is, just after the parameters for the method, we can add a colon, and we can specify that we're returning from here a promise of iActivity and an array. And if I hover over the list now, we can see that's exactly what we're returning. And if I go back to my app.tsx file, what I can do now is just remove the any from this, because my activity is now going to be an iActivity, because my response is of type iActivity array. And we should find that we're still operating as normal, and we can return all of our activities here. And I've got one warning saying that the Axios is defined but never used, so I'll also correct that as well whilst we're here, and just remove this from my imports. So that's our list taken care of. What we'll do now is we'll just move through the other parts of our CRUD application and update each one of them to make use of our new agent.ts file so that we can persist our changes in our application.